Hello, and welcome to our series of videos about how to transform your practice using artificial intelligence. My name is Katie Young. I am a litigator in the areas of business, employment, real estate, and trademark. I'm out of San Francisco, California. I'm the co-founder and managing partner of Ad Astra Law Group PC, and I'm really excited to share with you all the ways that I've transformed my practice using the tools that I'm showing off in this set of videos. And I'm joined today by the creator of Legion.Law. This is Arthur Rothrock. Arthur, welcome. Tell us a little
You-
bit about yourself.
Thanks so much for having me, Kitty. I'm a practicing litigator. I was very AI savvy, and I waited for a while to see if anyone was going to build these tools that I wanted to use in my practice. And not seeing anyone do it after a couple of years, we decided to do it ourselves, and we've been off to the races ever since. So our
Fantastic.
very
Yeah,
excited to be here to show you more of the platform.
when did we meet? About a year ago?
About a year ago,
Yeah.
you were one
Okay,
of our
so
first ones.
that's right. It's the benefit of being in San Francisco, right? So with the legal tech is coming out of here. It's so nice. So nice. Okay, so this is the home screen of Legion. I've logged in. And what you would do if you're brand new to it would be to start a new matter, and you would tell it the names of the parties involved and what jurisdiction you're in. Whereas here we know this is Meridian Healthcare versus Quantum Dynamics. This is a hypothetical about a healthcare company that contracted with a software company for the software company to build it a custom piece of software. Software company didn't deliver on time, and may have known that it couldn't deliver on time. So there was some breach of contract and some maybe fraud causes of action there that we used to draft a complaint. And then if you watch the series of videos, you'll see that we've actually already drafted special interrogatories. So what we're going to do in this video is respond to those special interrogatories. So let's click in here, and we're going to create a new document inside the matter. And we're going to go to discovery and responding. And since we have a set of form interrogatories that we just generated, let's pretend we're going to respond to these special interrogatories. Generate document. And here it knows about the pleading. So we want to include that, right?
Yeah. We always wanted
And
to evaluate the relevance objections. And then I would just click on the eyes so we can see the full sort of text to make sure that we choose the right special interrogatory set two.
that's set one.
Um,
Uh, Set two. There it is.
well, let's look at the eye to make sure it's not the declaration. Just want to make sure. Perfect.
Okay, so that's it. And council declaration.
Well, we'll just say yes.
Okay, great. And if there's any cross pleading, you can upload that too. But so far there's not, and there's just the complaint and the special rogs that we're going to try and respond to. And we'll hit continue to preferences.
Yep.
Okay, propounding party. So this is the defendant propounding onto us, Meridian Healthcare. Do you want a preliminary statement and objections?
Up to you. I don't usually like to include them because they're not code compliant and I'm always yelling at opposing counsel about it. So I try to not do the thing that I yell at other people about, but I understand a lot of people like to include it. Preliminary discovery is ongoing. We reserve our right to, add and supplement, etc. And then usually you'll assert a bunch of objections that you want. I think the only case that I've ever seen where any of those preliminary objections has ever been upheld is for attorney-client privilege. So if you want to do it, there's one case out there about it being okay for attorney-client privilege, and only because it's such an important thing that the court was like, even though this isn't specifically asserted where it should have been, we're going to give you an out here because it was up here. So that's your quick facts for from a litigation.
Okay. All right. Well, let's work on configuring objections and style. So let's click an objection style. And what do these refer to?
Yeah, so this is basically if you handed some discovery to your associate and you're like, I like opposing counsel, only really assert the objections that are have a pretty high probability of succeeding if we have to go to the mat on them. Or, you're like, I just do a normal or aggressive, or maybe you really don't like opposing counsel, you can do scorched earth. This is sort of telling Legion how how much work it should do in terms of asserting objections and when it should decide to assert them. So it really impacts whether it's only going to pick the ones that it thinks are validly asserted, or do you have a colorable argument for it, or you just want to waste the other side's time?
Do a scorched earth just for fun. What can you do in custom?
Custom is if you have your own way of doing it. If you have sort of your own philosophy for when you want to assert objections or how often you assert them or to what or things to look out for, this is where you could sort of do your own custom instructions.
Okay. Well, I'm going to choose scorched earth. Specificity. What is it asking about here?
Sure. So that's a preference for attorneys. Maybe you only like to do boilerplate where, for example, responding party objects to this interrogatory because it's vague and ambiguous, and that's it. That's pretty boilerplate. Specific is the same sort of thing, but you actually say it's vague and ambiguous because, or because this term is not defined, or is defined weirdly, or it's vague for some other reason. But usually I do both because sometimes there's a mix of things. You don't really need a specific, work product or privilege objection oftentimes. So we'll just do boilerplate. So we just let the model pick between, are you only trying to find specific objections, or are you trying to do boilerplate, or do you want to do a mix of both? And I
Do a
most
mix.
people do both.
Okay, let's do a mix. Let's see. Response and objection settings.
All right,
What are we looking at here?
this is a big one. So there's boilerplate and specific at the top, but I want to give everyone the ability to edit these objections however they want. So if you have a certain way of saying your privacy objection or your confidentiality objection, whatever that is, you can click on the pencil and then manually edit them in terms of how they will appear. And then if you check the box, checking the box is telling Legion, I want you to assert this objection to every single request. It doesn't matter what it is. I always want you to assert it.
Okay, so one that I always want asserted is to the extent attorney-client work product privilege and to the extent work product. Definitely want to include
Perfect.
those.
Very common.
And so you can edit these in this screen. That shows you the boilerplate, then the specific. Oh, this is what you're talking about, where on the specific ones, it'll pull the quoted language that it's going to complain about or object about. Great.
That's right.
Okay. Let's leave that as is. If there's a defective request, right, we want to include vague and ambiguous. If it's compound, if it calls for a legal conclusion, let's say.
So you want these objections asserted to every single special interrogatory, regardless as to whether they actually are or not, and that's how you can do this.
Okay. And since we're going scorched earth, I'm going to say we can do all of these, but it'll pick up if I tell it scorched earth and don't select all of these, it'll probably pick that up anyways, correct?
It will, yes. This is just saying, I don't care what the request says. I want you to assert this no matter what. And scorched
I
earth is
see.
more so you can use your sort of judgment in terms of when you want to assert these things.
Okay. This just happened in a case, so I'll do premature financial discovery as an additional procedural issue.
There you go. And if for whatever reason we don't have an objection for you, you can add a custom one and that will be applied. And you can even tell Legion, here's how you would identify this if you want, and then it can try to automatically identify when that objection should be asserted for you. And you can say
Mhm.
where you want to put it. You can put the specific boilerplate or specific language template in there as well. And that's how you would sort of customize and add some stuff there.
Nice. Okay. Let's say that the specific and boilerplate ones together are good for us. So we've set our objections and style. We've told it what documents to look at and what we're responding to. Do we hit generate now?
We can. There's two other settings there that are really quick. One is include requests, and that's just in the responses. Are we copying and pasting over what was asked of you, and then we'll provide the response. Sometimes, with RFAs, we've seen people put screenshots in there, and Legion sometimes has a hard time handling that. So, or if you just don't like opposing counsel, you don't have to provide the request that was sent. So you can force them to have to look between the two documents if you want, but by default, we try to include the request that was asked in your responses.
That's very nice of you. And also another thing that causes my paralegal some grief. But now I have her working on these objections.
Right.
So, all right. Anything else you want to show us before we generate?
Yeah, just the last thing is some people like to preface their objections with objection period, and then they go into all of them. That's just the last setting there at the bottom, prefix with objection. So if you want that, you can turn it on. If you don't, you can leave it off. By default, I usually don't have it, but it's there if people want it.
Potato, potato.
Potato, let's go ahead and generate.
All right. Oh, this is so exciting. I just got such a chuckle about your slider bar there from conservative to scorched earth. That was, I hope you had fun coming up with that.
I had a lot of fun with that, and it was sort of because you know, there really is different sort of philosophies or a strategy that you might want to go about with a case. And,
Mhm.
if you are only ever asserting things that are very, fully defensible, something you're ready to go to motion compel on, sure, but that's not always how we operate. Sometimes we really just are, we need to be a pain in the ass for whatever reason. We need to cause some trouble for the other side. And, I want to recognize that and give folks the tools to do that. I don't want Legion to be a platform that's telling you how to be an attorney. I'm not going to tell you this is what you have to do because this is what's proper. It's no, here's all the tools that you can use for your practice so it aligns with whatever your strategy might be. I don't want to replace that judgment call. I mean, if you need to drive up the bill for the other side, go for it. That's what litigation is. If you have a really good relationship with opposing counsel, or maybe your client doesn't really have a lot of money to be fighting about discovery, and you're going to have to, that the other side's going to file a motion to compel. If you try to go scorched earth, it's probably going to backfire and cost your client a lot of money. So I want attorneys to be able to do whatever they like. If they don't want to go to the mat on a discovery battle, then you can choose the conservative option or the standard option just to make sure that you're preserving the objections that you absolutely have to. But I'm not going to sit here and moralize and tell you what you can and can't do. And so that was sort of the reasoning behind that bar. And also, it saves people from having to do a lot of edits later, because now it's like, if you only provide one option, how are they, it just causes more work for the attorney on the back end if they want to do something that was different than what Legion did. And our philosophy is, I want to get you as close to final as possible from the jump. And so that was a big reason for having the slider. And also it was kind of fun. The naming was fun. I was like, I don't know what to call the biggest top shelf setting, but Scorched Earth seemed appropriate.
Absolutely. So fun. Okay, look what it has given us. So on the left here, what is it showing us? Specific boilerplate, and then there's a bunch of objections that I had told it to use.
Yeah, so what it did was you already had some that you told it that it has to assert, but then it also went and did the analysis to see what additional ones it might want to assert. There is separate on the left that it identified, and then on the right is some boilerplate ones that it did. And if you don't like it, you disagree with it, you can just click the little X's and remove them. And then at the bottom there, there's all the buttons that we sort of saw at the last screen where you can select them and add them in. On the right is just a sort of summary. This is not what it will actually look like when it's drafted. This is just a very easy to see what's been asserted for each, or what's going to actually be drafted. And so as you scroll down, it will switch you to the next one, and then it will update the list on the left to something else. And you can sort of work through and remove or add, whatever you might want to do.
Oh, great. Okay, so let's say on this one here, state all facts that support your contention that quantum knew its representations regarding experience and capabilities were false. Let's say that I decide that I don't want to deal with product or attorney-client privilege objection, and this is definitely not financial discovery. So that looks good. And I just X those out and it'll make those changes on the right, correct?
That's right.
Okay. And what else do we have here? This is where you can choose more to add in.
Yeah, you can choose more to add in. And then you can also, at the very bottom, there's a button for substantive responses. And that's just to put in, at least for this step, the subject to. And then you can also click apply to all. And then that will make sure that that subject to and without waiving the foregoing objections, all that stuff is put in there for all of your special interrogatory responses.
Wonderful. Okay. So I've done this before where I went through and decided, okay, that one I think I can back up, and that one I don't want to fight about. And of course, it depends on who opposing counsel is, right? So let's say I've gone through all this and I've decided that these objections I'm going to leave in. We're going mostly scorched earth. Do I go to show doc?
Top right, I would click draft.
Draft. Got to move the video screen. Okay, and this will just take a minute to come up. I thought this was really fun, and definitely something that the paralegals can do, or saves the attorneys a lot of time as well. I mean, this is just discovery can be so expensive. I mean, when clients ask me at the beginning of an engagement, how expensive is litigation? I said, well, months can range from nothing, because litigation is a lot of hurry up and wait, to $25,000 a month if we have to respond to discovery. But using Legion's tools, we've gotten that price down to more like 10, or excuse me, 20. So knocked 5,000 off of it doing these objections this way. Very, very helpful. Okay, so now it's all fleshed out.
It's all fleshed out. We'll give it a little bit to sort of finish up, and then we're gonna try something new that I haven't tested yet. So we'll see if it works.
Oh, dangerous.
Yeah, dangerous. But like we saw in one of our previous videos, it's pretty easy to roll back and so nothing is permanent.
Okay.
So I think it's done. So what I want to do for this is, a lot of the times when you get served with discovery, and if you're the plaintiff and defendant's hitting you with a bunch of stuff, a lot of your information, a lot of your initial facts anyway, are usually in your complaint already. So one of the things that you can do for Legion for this, and I hope, is you're going to go ahead and click on the plus sign down there next to the comment bar. And we're going to go ahead and say all responses. And I want you to just tell Legion, please review the complaint. And if there are any facts in the complaint that are responsive to this special interrogatory, add those facts and replace, the response in brackets, or add it as a substantive response to the interrogatory.
Anything else?
Let me see. Please review the complaint. If there are any facts responsive to the special interrogatory, add those facts and replace response. Perfect. Let's fire that and see what it does. And the other thing that I was telling Katie before we started recording was we had someone ask, hey, I got my client gave me some responses for this, and I would like to use Legion to incorporate those. How can we do that? And so right now, we up the limit for how much you can put in the comment bar. So if you just go to like the first special interrogatory, you could copy and paste in whatever your client gave you and say, add a substantive response incorporating this. Maybe you have a section or a paragraph in a contract, you can copy paste that in. You can copy paste in whatever it is that you have on hand. You can sort of grab that and then throw it into Legion to have it drafted. And now I think it might have done a pretty okay job.
Well, damn. Look at that.
that. It works.
Wow.
I hope
Okay.
it could work.
Let's take a look at this. For the negligent misrepresentation claim, identify every person at Meridian who you contend received an alleged misrepresentation, the date, and the action. Cool. So it was able to read the complaint and learn that in our hypothetical, Dr. Chen heard some representations from Quantum on this date, the date of a presentation. And that seems like a pretty good response. Now, of course, you have a duty of diligence and candor to make sure you've gone through all of this, and it does in fact line up with what information you fed it and what you know about the case. But that's really powerful, very helpful. Here's another response. This was asking about state all facts that Quantum knew its representations were false. That's really neat. That's really
That's so
neat.
cool. I'm so glad that worked the way I thought it was going to work.
Oh, very good. Okay, so let's say we're happy with this. Where do we go now? Download?
Yeah, head over to download.
Okay. It'll just take a minute to upload that. Yeah, responding to discovery is the bane of most litigators' existence. So anything that you can do to make it a little less painful, I really appreciate you for.
You're, you're very welcome.
Yeah.
I also, I mean, the whole reason why Legion came about was because I also hated doing this. So I feel like it's so much more fun to practice law now. We're getting rid of a lot of the high friction things that make it very difficult. Now we can get to the more fun things where we get to show up in court and argue and negotiate and talk to our clients and inform them as to how things are going on and how the case is going and all that. It's going to become, I think, a much more sort of human facing practice. I mean, it's going to be a lot more socially involved rather than just us being stuck behind a keyboard for 12 hours a day. I'm very much looking forward to that.
Excellent. So here it gave us 63 pages at $10 a page. That's $630. That's about an hour of my time. And it took us what, 10 minutes, 15 minutes to work on that. So that's what I was saying, the huge cost savings to the client, right? That's thousands of dollars of work that Legion just saved for us. Let's go ahead and purchase that document. Credit card saved. And it automatically downloads up here. And there we have it, people. Responses to special interrogatories. And there it has all the objections that we came up with. Again, we went scorched earth. If I decide that I don't want the scorched earth, can I go back in? I would go back into Legion and go back into preferences.
Yeah, you would go to your preferences, but if you do this, it's going to lose everything that we've already done. So it would go ahead
Okay,
and
we can't
revise
do that
all.
yet. Yeah,
Yeah, because it would
got it.
rerun all the analysis and then it's going to need to redraft everything. So that would be if you want to change that setting, you would have to go all the way back and regenerate. But if you wanted to do the mass feedback thing, you could say, hey, get rid of any of the objections that you think are, kind of a stretch, or I only want you to assert these 3 objections to all of them. So you can do mass edits that way to the entire thing if you do change your mind later, and it'll do a pretty good job of that. You just won't get the benefit of going into and then being able to click buttons to add or remove things because now you're painting with broad strokes. So that's the only big difference.
Okay. And I like here that it's copied the special interrogatory so that my paralegal didn't have to do that work. And I just can't say enough about the cost savings for especially my clientele, these small and medium-sized businesses that really need this because so many litigators, so many parties try and just drive the other side out of litigation with discovery costs. And unfortunately, that can be an effective strategy.
Yeah.
Really can.
Yes,
Um,
now we get to trial on the merits a lot quicker and for more cheaply. And that can be a scary thing for some folks.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you so much for helping me be a more efficient litigator and provide services to my clients less expensive than I normally could with great accuracy. And I'm just so thankful for you.
Happy to do it, Katie. Thanks for being one of our first early adopters. It has been it's very difficult to convince attorneys to try out AI, but once they sit down and actually look at the tools, they are blown away and wish that they had checked us out a lot sooner. So I appreciate you for taking the leap and checking us out and seeing what we could do in the first place. This has been great. And also for this whole video series as well. The only way that people hear about us or trust attorneys are hard to sell to. And it's all because of warm intros and recommendations from other people and other attorneys like you. So this is a huge help. Thank you so much for putting this together. It's awesome. What a fun video series.
Great. I hope you all enjoyed it as well. I hope you transform your practice the way that I did. And I know Arthur is anxious to meet any of you that want to have white glove demos of the product. And you can always give me a call too. This video series is available for download and purchase. Some of these videos are free, but there's more out there if you're looking for more. Thank you very much for joining. Have a great day.
Thank you all so much. Email me at arthur@Legion.Law if you have an interest, or check us out online at Legion.Law. Thanks so much, Katie.
Bye.